Dear students, Assalamu alaikum. Today we are going to learn another story, which is a very beautiful story. The title of the story is The Happy Prince, written by Oscar Wilde. It is a very good story in which a tale of a statue, you will go through the tale of statue which want to get rid of its jewels and other things. First, let us go see about the writer. Oscar Wilde, Irish born writer, was a novelist, playwright, poet, and critic. He was a who has written The Happy Prince? Oscar Wilde. He was Irish born, he was a writer, novelist, and a playwright. He was born on October 16, 1854 in Dublin and educated at Trinity College, Dublin. As a youngster, he was exposed to the brilliant literary talk of the day at his mother's Dublin salon. Later, as a student at the University of Oxford, he excelled in classics, wrote poetry at Oxford. Wilde came under the influence of English writers Walter Pater and John Ruskin. As during his young age, he was exposed to good things. He was exposed to brilliant work, literary work, at his mother's salon. His mother was running a salon at Dublin. Later, when he entered the university, he excelled in classics and wrote poetry. He was a good student and excelled in a certain field which we called poetry, and he became a famous poet. And he came under the influence of great English writers such as Walter Pater and John Ruskin. As an aesthete, the eccentric young Wilde wore long hair and velvet breeches. His wit, brilliance, and flair won him many devotees. He died in 1900. He was an man of aesthetic taste. He dressed very beautifully, had a long hair, and which due to his aesthetic taste, due to his good aesthetic taste, many people loved him. And he passed in the year 1900. That means he died young, because he was born. No, he doesn't. Yeah, he died young at 1854 to 1900. It seems that 6 and 46. At the age of 46, he died. The Happy Prince was a beautiful statue. He was covered with gold. He had sapphires for eyes and ruby in his sword. Why did he want to part with all the gold that he had and his precious stones? Who was a happy prince for now? Happy Prince is the statue. Just you see, when you go outside, you will see statues in different roadsides, in front of different buildings. In this case, the Happy Prince is a statue which was covered with gold. Instead of eyes, it had sapphires. It means it has very costly diamonds instead of eyes, and it has rubies in his sword. But the statue wants to get rid of these precious gems. The statue wants to get rid of that. Let us go and see what happens in the story. High above the sea, on a tall column, stood the statue of the Happy Prince. He was glided all over with thin leaves of pine gold for eyes. He had true bright sapphires, and a large red ruby glowed on his sword hilt. High above the sea, on a tall column, the statue was put on a tall column. It was high above the sea, so everyone could see the statue. And the statue was named as Happy Prince. He was glided all over with the thin leaves of fine gold. Instead of clothes, he was covered with the leaves of gold, and his eyes were very bright, because it were in the place of eyes there were sapphires. There were sapphires, and large red ruby glowing on his sword hilt, and a large big diamond of ruby was on his sword cover, at top of his sword, which were very glittering, which were very eyes were glittering, and the swords were glittering, and the gold leaves were glittering too. One night there flew over the sea a little swallow. His friends had gone away to Egypt 6 weeks before, but he had stayed behind. Then he decided to go to Egypt too. One night a bird, swallow is the name of the bird, had flown over the sea. His friends had gone away to Egypt 6 weeks before. They have migrated to Swallow's friends had migrated to Egypt 6 weeks before, but he stayed behind. Then he decided to go to Egypt too. When he felt lonely, then he decided, let me join my friends and let me go to the Egypt too. Who decided to go to the Egypt? Swallow decided to go to the Egypt. All day long he flew, and at night time he arrived at the city. All day long he flew. During night he reached the city. Where shall I put up? As he was tired, as the swallow was tired, he thought, where should I put up? He said, I hope the town has made preparations. Yes, yeah, there will be something in the town where I can spend my night. Where I can spend my night. Who is telling this? Swallow is telling this, that there will be something in the city. From this town has made preparation, there will be something in the city, that where I can put myself there and rest for the night. Then he saw the statue on the tall column. I will put up there. Let me put up there, he cried. It is fine position with plenty of fresh air. I will get the fresh air there. So he alighted just between the feet of the happy prince. She stood between the feet of the happy prince. Who stood between the feet of the happy prince? The swallow, in order to spend the night. I have a golden bedroom. She told herself, yeah, it is an inverted comma. I have a golden bedroom. He said softly to himself as he looked round. Oh, see how lucky I am. My bedroom is made up of gold. And he prepared to go to sleep. But just as he was putting his head under his wings, a large drop of water fell on him. As he was preparing himself for the sleep and was going to put his head in the wings so he can sleep, a large drop of water fell over him. What a curious thing! How sky is clear. There is not a single cloud in the sky. How the water had fallen on me! He cried. There is not a single cloud in the sky. The stars are quite clear and bright, and yet it is raining. See, it is miracle. It is just amazing. It is amazing that there is not a single cloud on the sky. There is not a single cloud in the sky. Still the sky is quite clear. Still it is raining. It is quite amazing. Now I will give you it in Kashmiri. I will tell you in your mother tongue so you get it easily. Yeh oss أکِس شہرس منٛز اکھ کالم گوٚو اکھ پِلر اکھ بنٲیِتھ اتھ پٮ۪ٹھ ٲس أکِس اکھ مُجسمہٕ اکھ تتھ مُجسمس اوس ناو ہیپی پرنس. أمِس ٲسۍ سۄنہٕ سٕنٛدۍ پنتُل جسمس أنٛدۍ أنٛدۍ لٲگِتھ سٲرسٕے پلوو بدلہٕ. أچھو بدلہٕ ٲسۍ أمِس لال زٕ ہیٖرٕ زٕ سیفایرس زٕ تہٕ بیٚیہِ اوس اکھ لال اکھ ڈایمنڈ تلوارِ تہِ لٲگِتھ. تلوارِ یُس یتھ منٛز تلوارِ ہُنٛد میان چھُنہ آسان یتھ منٛز تلوار تھاوان تتھ اوس لٲگِتھ. اَکہِ دۄہ آو جانوَر اَکھ سویلو اَکھ آے یا ژٕر مانو أسۍ ژَرِ کھۄتہٕ بٔڑٕے پَہَن یہِ آے تہٕ أمِس ٲسۍ دوس گٔمٕتۍ مِصر أمِس ژَرِ ہِنٛدۍ دوس ٲسۍ 6 ہفتہٕ برونٛہہ گٔمٕتۍ مِصر بٲڈٕس گژھان چھِ أکِس جایہِ پٮ۪ٹھ بیٚکِس جایہِ تہٕ ییٚلہِ یہِ مِصر ٲس مگر یہِ بیٖٹھ پَتھَے أمۍ دوٚپ بہٕ گژھٕ پَتَے پَتہٕ ییٚلہِ أمِس پنٛنٮ۪ن دوستَن ہُنٛد لوگ پھیرنہِ یہِ تہِ درٛاے مِصر دۄہَس ٲس یہِ وٕڑان ییٚلہِ شام ٹایم ووت یہِ وٲژ شہرَس نزدیٖک أمۍ سوٗنٛچ پنٛنہِ جایہِ شہرَس منٛز آسہِ کینٛہہ نَتہٕ کینٛہہ ییٚتہِ بہٕ راتَس بیٚہمہٕ ٲخٕر کار یُتھُے یہِ وٲژ اَتٮ۪تھ أمۍ وٕچھ اَکھ زیوٗٹھ اَکھ کالَم اَکھ اَتھ پٮ۪ٹھ تصویٖر دوٚپُن اوہو وٕچھ کُس طوٗفانٕچ جاے چھِ بہٕ بیٚہمَے أتی اَتہِ کیٛاہ آسہِ ہوا ہنا تہِ راتَس طوٗفانٕچ مےٚ یی نیٚنٛدٕر تہِ اَصٕل یُتھُے یہِ اَتھ پٮ۪ٹھ بیٖٹھ یُتھُے اَنہِ گوٚٹ گوٚو یہِ بیٖٹھ أمِس اَتھ یُس مُجسمہٕ اوس ہیپی پرٛنٕس مُجسمہٕ اوس اَتھ بیٖٹھ یہِ کھۄرَن درمیان یُتھُے أمۍ وٕچھ دوٚپُن وٕچھ قٕسمَتھا کیٛاہ چھِ مےٚ سۄنہٕ بَنیٛو مےٚ بیٚڈ روٗم شۄنٛگنٕچ جاے بَنے مےٚ سۄنہٕ سٕنٛز تہٕ وَسہٕ شۄنٛگَے بہٕ أمۍ یُتھُے شۄنٛگ أمۍ لٔجنومُت ترٛاوُن پَنُن کَلہٕ ترٛایہِ ہے یہِ پَکھِ منٛز أمِس پیوٚو آبہٕ پھیُر پٮ۪ٹھ أمۍ دوٚپ یا اِلہی یہِ کیٛاہ ماجرا چھُ مےٚ کِتھ پٲٹھۍ سُہ پیوٚو یہِ آب مےٚ چھِ اَبُر کُن تارَک چھِ پرٛزلان آبَے پیوٚو تہٕ پیوٚو کیٛازِ تہٕ یِتھَے پٲٹھۍ گژھِ یہِ دٔلیٖل باقٕے صُبحَس